In 2000, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and at that time our family business was sold. So I took on the job of caretaker for my mom, and she was diagnosed with DCIS stage 2, and she had a lumpectomy and radiation. She elected not to have chemo because of her age, and I think that generation just believed that everybody that had chemo died and or got really sick, and she decided that that just wasn't for her. So we all supported her. She did what she did, and she got through it with flying colors and was cancer-free within 15 months. But during that time, my friend Meredith Burgess hauled me into her office and had this crazy idea of putting together a fundraiser. And for some reason, I was compelled to raise my hand and say, sure, I'll be the chair. And the fundraiser was a luncheon, and it was a educational piece for people in Maine to come together and learn about breast cancer. And it was a great event. Year 4, I went and had my mammogram after and had some stuff show up, but everything was fine. And believe it or not, I went in to have a breast reduction, and during that time my pathology showed that I had breast cancer. And actually my surgeon, I came in for my follow-up and was so proud of what I had just done, and he looked at me, he's like, Julie, I want you to know you have breast cancer. And I looked at him and said, that's not even funny. Because he knew I worked on the luncheon, and he knew that I was, out supporting the cause. And so I somehow thought that it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. And so my story is quite unique. Not many people get beautiful boobs and find breast cancer at the same time. And so the question was, what happens? What do I do now? Because they really don't know where it came from. So they sent my pathology out to every specialist in the country, and they all felt that we had clear margins, and I had a couple of options. My options were to take tamoxifen or to do nothing. And I chose to do nothing, and to take care of me, and to keep going back and having checkups and all that kind of great stuff. And so far it's been 11 years, and I've been cancer-free. I've had a couple biopsies along the way because they're very, proactive in what they find, and I am cancer-free today. I had very dense breasts, and so that was always my report. You have very dense breasts, and I had been called back a couple of times for ultrasounds. And there were a couple of times where they were going to do something, but somewhere along the way they'd say, no, I think we'll let it go for another 6 months. So, during that time, I just I said, should I not have the breast reduction because you're, finding things that, are unusual? And they said, no, you should just go right ahead and do that. So my doctor did tell me that it was like a needle in a haystack, and, that I was really lucky that they found what they found. It's gone. I mean, they took it out. When they took the breast tissues to make my breast smaller, they felt that they got everything that was in there. So instead of having a breast that may have a scar or something, I got quite the opposite. So I'm very proud of my breast cancer. But I do feel, I feel somewhat guilty that I didn't have to go through what lots of other women have had to go through. So, for me to say I'm a survivor, I somehow feel that I didn't have the entire experience. But, when you have the word cancer, I don't care what it is, to have someone look at you and tell you have cancer, that is more than enough. Matter of fact, because I was so involved with raising money and all that stuff, that I wasn't going to get it. When you work so hard to support a cause, you think that all of a sudden you've just been taken off the list. So no, it didn't even enter my mind, honestly. And so I was really surprised. But I have to say, because I had gone through that with my mom, I wasn't afraid. you know. So when some people get diagnosed, they haven't seen it, they haven't been around it. But I had such a, following of people that I knew because of the work that I had done that had been through it, that I felt I was in really good company. That may sound odd, but it's true. Here we have this cancer epidemic, and what do we do? And I think, we have to unite to make a difference. And, not one person can do it alone. It takes a village. We've heard that a million times, but it's so true. And, after I went through my cancer journey, decided that I wanted to do something for me. And for me was, I was challenged with a triathlon. And so I've got 7 friends to go out and do a triathlon with me. And, I hadn't swam since I've been 15 years old. I hadn't, run ever. And, a bike was a form of transportation when I was a kid. So putting those 3 things together was quite a challenge for me. But we got together, we figured it all out. We went down and did an all-women's triathlon down in Massachusetts. And when I crossed that finish line, it was so life-changing for me. I felt that I had taken my body back and that I was now in charge. And I wanted to share that feeling with other people, and I wasn't sure how to do that. But I was on the board at the time of the Maine Cancer Foundation, which is a local cancer foundation for research. And we were sitting there one day and we were talking about events that they had, and we needed to come up with a new event, and they were going to get rid of a few. And again, put my hand up and said, "Hey, how about a women's triathlon?" And the faces were like, "Okay, what is that? And who's going to do it?" And I said, "It's a triathlon, and it will only be for women, and I'll do it." And they're like, "How do you know how to do that?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll figure it out. I've done one. I'll figure it out." Well, it's a lot more work than just figuring it out, but we started an all-women's triathlon in Maine, and the first year we had 500 women that got into the cold waters of the coast of Maine, and they swam a third of a mile, they biked 15 miles, and they ran 3 miles, and it was probably one of the best days of their lives. And that year we raised $275,000, and our goal was $35,000, so I was a hero. And we just finished the 8th year this past year, and we had 1,300 women, and we raised $1.5 million this year. So in the last 8 years, we've raised over $8.2 million. So, I did not contribute the $8.2 million, but if I hadn't raised my hand and said, "Let's do it," and take the risk of making a fool out of myself, that money wouldn't be available to the state of Maine for research and creating life-changing moments for all those women and changing their lives for the better, because they do have to train to do this, and they raise money. And it's really, instead of a race, it's about women coming together for a cause. And it's so emotional. It's just an event that it's hard to even explain. You have to be there. But it's really a celebration of women and of cancer.